Alright, so what you're about to see is me just going through a clip from a 3 hour session of describing Overwatch fundamentals as a refresher and making sure that everyone's on the same page on our macro game. I do go into some micro tips, but mostly the macro fundamentals PowerPoint I utilize in this here to remind the students, or my students, just the general basics and goals of Overwatch roles and team composition and play. Okay. So let's go over some responsibilities of and I think I have I can't talk while typing. I have notes of this in a different document, but okay, so if you're watching my screen, let's do like a group thing here. What are as the tank role, what is your job in the team? Like, what are you supposed to be doing for your team?
Protect people from dying.
Okay. Protect team from dying. Alright, that's an okay one. That's like a A tier answer. Anyone else? Just
Make space.
Make space. That's S tier answer.
Damn
Let me move that above protect from dying, because that is the tank's #1 objective. Any other answers?
Hold space.
Hold space. Sure, I'll take that as A tier. B tier because you plagiarized.
it.
Let me give you a hint. What are the tank ultimates for?
Disrupting.
Disrupting. That's an A tier answer.
Win condition.
Give me a bit more on that side. What they are part of the win condition of a team fight. For example, Grav and Grav Hanzo ultimate both make the win condition, but what is the Grav in the win condition?
Support. It supports the other ultimate.
How so?
It puts them all together so that DPS can clean up.
Yes. So the term for that is it's an enabler. Well, not really enabler, because that's a support thing. A word for like set up-er. I'm just gonna say set up because I can't think of that word right now.
Opportunity maker.
Yes, opportunist. There we go. That's a perfect word. That's an S answer. All right. So basically, as a tank, if you suicide to make one, like any of these happen, if you make space, if you make opportunity for your team to win the team fight, you have done your job. You are A-okay. If you ever lose a game, but you know you did these two things well, you blame your team. There's no way around that. Yeah, so if you're ever in your head being flamed as a tank for not killing things, just say, I made space and I created opportunities and it's my team's fault for losing. And when you win, you say, I made space and I made opportunities and that's why we won. All right, DPS, what is your job?
Give me a second.
No, that's
You hate to hear that.
Okay. Deal damage.
Deal damage. That's an ATL answer.
I mean, like,
Take off angles.
Take off angles. That's a pretty good answer.
While you're also used to just disrupt the.
What was that? Apply
Your R
pressure.
has to-
Yes, that's an S tier answer.
Yeah, like mainly snipers are used just to get picks, while the flankers such as Tracer, Genji, Doom are used to mainly disrupt the backline and prevent them from healing the rest of.
Yes, that is a good explanation to apply pressure.
Assassinate high priority targets.
Yes, and I'm going to put that down as punish the enemy. Because there's no one who can do it better than someone who literally just kills them.
Yes.
For example,
Unless you're playing Roadhog.
yeah,
but
if the
yes.
enemy has no shields and you play Bastion on cart and pirate ship, you are punishing the enemy by straight up killing them. It depends on the map also. Please don't play no pirate ship on King's Row or something. I'll be, later on in the week, starting on Wednesday, I'll be explaining team comps. So that is when we get to the majority of this document. So this is very good. And then what is like the final answer? What do you do with your ultimate? It's pretty forehead. I mean,
Kill.
Kill everything.
yeah. So like complete the win condition. Basically, it sounds forehead, but the execution of it is hard. So execute the plan. You are like
Another thing,
you're the spear on the. You're the spearhead on the spear.
and other things such as like Maze ult and Hanzo's ult can also be used
Execution.
for a good zoning tool.
Yeah. So that's applying pressure. So
Yes.
it also creates opportunity for your team, but you're pretty much the one who has to be using that opportunity. Like if you provide opportunity for your tanks to kill, that's really good. There's certain situations where that's obviously better than killing the enemy, but as a DPS, you're the most liable to just straight up kill the enemy, like wipe their team. I mean, you know, Diva Bomb can do that. The Roadhog ult can do that, but for the most part. All right, so support. What are some of the things that a support should be looking to do?
Enable.
Yes, I like how you stole that from me earlier, but that is S tier answer.
Keep your teammates up.
Keep your teammates up. Yes, that's a very good answer, even though it's not like an S answer. Heal. Yes, please. You'd be surprised sometimes. But I'm gonna add to this: heal the right targets. The difference between a efficient healer and a heal bot is if they can heal their entire team and know who needs healing at what time. That's the hardest part about healing. But not really the hardest, but it makes healing hard. Okay,
Kill the right targets. Yes.
anything else?
Applying debuffs to your enemy. Stuns, sleeps, and tease discord.
Kinda-
Utilities.
Utilities. So that goes under enabling, so I'll put that as
Yeah.
like yeah, utilities. Honestly, the
Oh,
big
I have
umbrella
one.
just blankets out under enabler, because enabler is like the one thing that supports are supposed to be doing. What were you gonna say?
survive, don't die.
That's kind of a general rule
Yeah,
for everyone.
I'll put
Yeah,
that
but
on.
you should
It's
be the
important.
last one to die.
Yeah, it is very important. Actually, no, you should not be the last one to die.
Just don't die.
Yeah, ideally, you would sacrifice yourself for your team. Like, you heal your entire team, and then let's say there's a Reinhardt left, you would be able to, like, keep your Reinhardt up, but die before your Reinhardt, because that means you're doing your job. Because if the Reinhardt dies before you, that means you failed to heal them correctly. So, that's all, like, theory and hypothetical situations, but okay. Most of the support's roles, if you keep in mind that you're supposed to be an enabler, there's so many ways that you can enable your team. For example, like Baptiste, if you kill people with your window, that's enabling your team because it pushes in. Like, your team can push in off the pick. Ana, if you sleep like a ball and then your Ryan charges and you immediately get a kill, that's enabling your team because you enable your Ryan to kill the ball. So it's very like ambiguous, and like Mercy, if you Valk and damage boost everyone on the team, you're enabling them, but also there's certain times where you should be healing them to enable them. So it's different for every single healer. It's quite odd. All right, let's go into the a bit more general macro then. So let's get into the beef of this. So this is the like when I pester you guys during scrims of what to do and when and where. Okay, screw the animations. The general idea of how Overwatch is supposed to play out is you have a plan that you base off of the map. You choose your entire team composition off of that plan, and you pretty much stick to the plan and have like sub plans on how to adapt your own plan. And then you get into the setup phase, which is getting to the choke point, getting your team prepped to execute your plan. And the next phase, scouting and setup, are pretty much in the same phase, because while you're setting up, okay, like if you consider setup pre-round, you can kind of scout, but really scouting should be during the round at all times. Usually, or scouting is like one of the most important parts, because you can't execute without scouting. Of course you can, but that's going in blind, and if the enemy scouts, then you might be screwed. But usually what will happen is someone who can flank easily, like a Tracer, a Ball, a Sombra, will be the one scouting. And the reason for scouting is, alright, pop quiz time. Let's say you're running dive. What is like the worst thing that you want to run into on the enemy team? Like what? Ana, yeah. What's another support that's like absolutely terrible for a dive? Baptiste, that one's okay. Brig, yes. Brig is horrible if you're trying to dive a Brig. What about tanks? Like, who can shut down a dive?
Hog,
Zarya, yeah. And then at DPS, like if you're on Doomfist, who do you not want to dive first? McCree, yeah. Reaper. And then people who you can't kill, like Tracer, or are harder to kill. So the reason why you need to scout is because imagine you're running dive and you're running Diva, or Diva, Ball, and Doomfist, and you immediately dive straight into the enemy team and find they have a Sombra, McCree, Hog, and Brig. You're done. You're literally done. And you could have easily prevented that by having your Ball go around the side and say, okay, they have a comp to counter us. Let's dive them from the side so they don't expect it. And then that's where the execution comes in, because the people who are scouting will help your shot caller to like execute the plan. And mid fight, you'll have a target caller, which it should be pretty much everyone, because it's a team game, and focusing, like, there can't be one person who's tracking the entire fight. It's 6 mines versus 6 mines. And so you'll be calling things like Monkey Low, Monkey 1, Brig no abilities, Ana no abilities. And mid-fight scouting is also that. Calling abilities and just general communication over just information that goes in the fight to help you win. And then winning or losing. I'd say most importantly, you need to know how to lose fights, because if you're in a fight and you use an ultimate in the fight and get 0 value out of the ultimate, you literally just lost that ultimate for nothing. And then cleanup and ult tracking. So cleanup is cleanup is the most fun part of the fight. Cleanup, it can either turn into let's hold them at their spawn, or it can turn into how did we lose that point so quickly. It's very underrated, I guess. But when you have 6 people and you kill 4 and there's 2 just like slowly walking away, you always want to chase them. As soon as you get the point, if you're playing like King of the Hill, just chase them down and kill them. And that's the cleanup, because then you stagger the enemy team. This is where staggering comes in. And if the enemy team staggers so badly, you can literally just run them into their spawn. But at the same time, if you also stagger and let's say 4 people stay on point while you and your teammate try to go take the 2v2 to stagger the enemy, and you lose, then that cleanup was really bad, and then you'll lose the next fight. And then here's ult tracking, which should be on all of them, just like scouting. But ult tracking is basically a dedicated phase where after the team fight, you say, what ults did they use? What ults did we use? And form the next plan of what ults you're going to be using against theirs and what ults they're going to be using against yours. It's like rock, paper, scissors. Okay, so let's go into ult tracking here. Not gonna lie, I did not read all of this, so I'm just gonna go through it and provide what I think is good. Who ult tracks? It should be everyone. Really, like in a pro team, if you were to look at someone from the Overwatch League, every single player will be able to ult track pretty much every single ultimate. Of course, you know, you'll forget some things and you'll have to ask your teammates, which, for example, a Reinhardt should be tracking the enemy Reinhardt's ultimate. In enemy, a Lucio should be tracking the Nano Blade. He should be tracking both Ana and Genji's ultimate at the same time. But it should be pretty obvious if it's like, okay, McCree didn't use his ult 2 team fights ago, and he still hasn't used it, so he probably has his ultimate. Or McCree used his ultimate last round, so he probably doesn't have his ultimate. And the reason why this is so important is because if you know that the enemy Lucio has their ultimate and you try to Nanoblade, you're going to instantly lose 2 ults to 1. And that's just simple maths. You're down 1 ult.
I think the reason why they pin this on supports is because they have the defensive maneuver against offensive ults. So I think that's probably why they had it set up this way. Because if you're playing like Lucio, Zen, or like Baptiste for Immortality, because the supports are absorbing the information and tracking ults.
I mean, it's a multitude of reasons. I think mostly it's because supports don't have that much of an they're spaced from the fight and they have a good field of vision over what's happening.
Yeah.
But really, it should be everyone. The supports should have the easiest time to ult track. Like if you're nanoblading Genji, you're not gonna see like the enemy Mei pops her ult in your backline. You're not gonna really see it unless you're like going back to kill her. You're focused on nanoblading, so that's why your support, your Ana, will be like, oh wow, there's a Mei freezing me, and I just heard their beat go off, so she can track everything. All right, I'm trying to figure out why they said only track what they have and not what they used. I think that's an okay tip. They're just trying to prevent you from saying, okay, they used Reinhold last fight, they're not going to have it again, because anyone can charge their ults insanely quick given the right scenario. So you don't want to assume that they don't have an ultimate. So always say what they've used, but keep in mind that they can have it again. Okay, next slide. So this is the when I go into scrims and I say they are your leader, or like usually it's Rodan and Sai, because they're like most qualified in game sense to be able to understand what's going on apart from their own gameplay. It just comes with honestly just playing Overwatch over time, and they have a lot of hours in the game, so it's a bit easier for them. In other FPS games, your plan will be set up and executed by your in-game leader, and so they have the responsibility of knowing who is on your team, knowing what your team is good at, what they're bad at, and gauging information from your team and the enemy team to create a good plan and win. Obviously, it's a team game, but they lead the team in a direction. So a lot of the responsibilities of the shot caller will be when to regroup, when to go in, and what to use. So like before a fight, you're gonna say, we have Nanoblade, but play really slowly so the enemy uses ults before the Nanoblade and stuff like that, so it just coordinates the entire team. I'm not gonna go over that since my game philosophy is everyone should be a shot caller. But let's go on to target calling. Target calling is simple. When you know you can kill someone, target call them. When you know someone's going to kill you, target call yourself and them. So for example, if you're playing dive and you see an enemy Zenyatta out in the open, that's an easy target call. You'll be calling kill the Zen to all your teammates like really fast. It's simple stuff. I'm pretty much gonna skip this, but one small thing, target calling for tanks and DPS are mostly who to kill. On supports, usually I don't hear very many people target calling, but you need to target call, or not really target call, but call when you need heals and when you need help. That's one big one that not a lot of supports do, and it's only up like towards mid to high GM that you actually get supports who will call like, there's a flanker on my right, I need help. And then that's how you win fights, if everyone has like the communication together, which includes supports. All right, ult usage. All right, let's see how many slides we have left. All right, we have 8 minutes left before we go into the next block. We should be fine. Let's go back to our notepad here of who's supposed to be doing what, because ult usage really depends on how you're filling your role. So tanks, ult usage is opportunists. Pretty much every single tank ult will be an opportunist ult, other than like Diva. Diva makes space with her ult. Either that by killing the enemies or by flushing the enemies out of a certain zone, like a zoning ult. For example, if all the enemies are on like point and they have no Reinhardt, you're gonna flush them straight off the point with that Diva bomb. And there's not really an opportunity in the Diva bomb other than the fact that they're in a certain place now. But for tanks, you want to make space and create opportunity for your team. This is pretty much all basic common sense stuff. Like maybe it's basic common sense for me. I'll explain a little. So when you're using your ult, you want to say who, what, and how. Basically, there's like a couple steps to using your ult. You say, how do I get what's it called? How do I get value out of my ult? Who am I using my ult on to get the value? And then what am I using my ult for? So let's go through a list of like let's see. Who's the okay, there's 2 Anas here. So my ult on Ana, it's an enabling ult. So how do I get value? By nanoing someone to save them or to kill the enemy team? So who do I nano to do that? Either one of my tanks or I can nano my Genji. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna nano my Genji, and then what do I answer? Or, well, I can't talk. Where do I ult and how do I use the ult? When he's blading and when he tells me to ult, or when I see him blading. That's how you get value. And then let's go to like Reinhardt, for example. So what do I need to do on Reinhardt? I need to make space and create opportunity with my ult. So how do I do that? I can do that by either shattering the entire enemy team, or I can shatter like one person. So if I get a guaranteed kill on anyone that I shatter, then that's good. I've I've made space. Well, I didn't really create opportunity, but I made space by killing someone or helping my team kill someone. Where do you use your ult? Obviously on the ground, in the open. Don't shatter a corner. Don't shatter a wall, please. That one should be pretty obvious. You know, if you shattered the wall, then you did not shatter the enemy, and that you didn't use your ult in the right place. How do I use my ult? Either by yourself, but Reinhardt, you can flank and use your ult and shatter the entire enemy team. Usually it'll be to punish someone who's out of position. All right, let's go to scouting pre-fight. Okay, yeah, this is the everyone should be scouting. We basically already covered this. The one thing I will say though is when you scout, you have to relay the information back to your team. And some people won't realize that they're actually scouting because they'll be in front engaging that information in their mind. So just say what you see. Pretty much at all times, say what you see, because keep in mind your Ana in the back doesn't know that they have full dive comp, and so she might be using her abilities aggressively on the enemy Reinhardt. But if they have like everyone else is diving, then she's gonna die because she doesn't have her abilities. So just general communication over the entire team will prevent that. And then scouting mid-fight. This really isn't scouting. I wouldn't call it scouting. It's more of ability usage. But the comms for this should be calling targets, first of all. But because of these, like, pretty much 3 things only. 1, they're out of position. If there's a Zenyatta on point by himself, just call the Zenyatta, get 3 people to kill him together rather than trying to take a 1v1 and accidentally losing. That's an easy one. Key abilities used. This one is a bit harder because like if you say Mora has no fade, but she still has orb and coalescence, that's it's a bit of a trap. But usually, like, if these are the like best examples, Mei Wall and her cryo freeze are like the only thing that saves Mei from being out of position. Zarya bubbles are the only thing keeping Zarya relevant as not a DPS. So she's basically a DPS in the tank line when she doesn't have her bubbles. And movement abilities like Tracer's blinks. If she's out of blinks, or if Doomfist is out of movement abilities, then you should call the Doomfist because he's basically just a sitting target. And then finally, low health. That one should be obvious. When you want someone to die, you call their name out and everyone shoots them. Alright. That should be it for this. We're gonna go, tomorrow, I'm gonna go into more callouts, like specific callouts to help each role.